WWE presents the second ever WWE Evolution PLE this Sunday, July 13th from the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. And much like the first iteration of the show, could WWE have some major returns planned for the all-woman PLE? We'll let you know of 5 potential major returns that could happen this Sunday in this countdown video. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Before we begin today's countdown video, you can see right there, we recently hit 23,000 subscribers. So really appreciate everyone that's subscribed recently or been there since the start or somewhere in between. The goal is to get to 25k in 2025. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Join the ever-expanding WNU, that being the Wrestling News universe. In addition, you can become a member of the WN365 roster. Links in the video description below. You can also scan the QR code when it appears on the sidebar. You get your badges, your emojis, and your exclusive members-only content. And whilst checking out the sidebar, you can see all upcoming live streams we've got on the channel. That includes this weekend, a busy weekend of professional wrestling, AEW All in Texas, of course Saturday night's main event, and WWE Evolution the following night. We'll have everything covered in watch-alongs and post-shows for every single show. Right, into today's countdown video, and let's talk about some possible major returns at WWE Evolution this weekend. Of course, as I mentioned in the intro of this video, Evolution is on Sunday, July 13th from State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. It's the return of the all-women's PLE, just the second time WWE has ever put on the event. And we saw in the first WWE Evolution back in 2018, several high-profile returns. And could we see something similar this Sunday? Let's get into names that could be set to return this weekend at Evolution, beginning with Bianca Belair. Now, we haven't actually seen Bianca Belair for quite some time in WWE. In fact, we haven't seen her since WrestleMania. She was involved in one of the most critically acclaimed matches over WrestleMania weekend on night 2 of WWE WrestleMania 41. Bianca Belair faced Io Sky and Rhea Ripley in a Women's World Championship triple threat match, and she actually lost that match, being pinned by Sky. It actually ended her undefeated streak at WrestleMania at the time. Now, this is, again, a match that was critically acclaimed, and it was matches that a lot of people said could have main evented WrestleMania, one of the best matches of the entire weekend, but Belair didn't come out of it unscathed, unfortunately, for the EST of WWE. Now, she actually revealed on the April 25th episode of SmackDown that at WrestleMania 41, she suffered broken fingers on her left hand. She'd be taking time off to heal. She did appear on a later episode of SmackDown from her hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee, but she still wasn't ready to return at that point. Now, according to recent reports, the suggestion was that she is on her way back to WWE television at some point. Now, had been reports as recently as last month suggesting that the EST of WWE's potential return was supposedly scheduled for some time ahead of SummerSlam, which is scheduled for August 2nd and August 3rd. And let's be honest, this is the last PLE before then. So could she make a return at this event, or is it going to be after Evolution? We'll have to wait and see, but there is matches that will involve Bianca Belair in some fashion, or at least have Bianca Belair influence on it, particularly the no-holds-barred match. Of course, it's Miss Money in the Bank Naomi going up against Jade Cargill, the Queen of the Ring, in a no-holds-barred match. Cargill set to face the WWE Women's Champion at SummerSlam after winning Queen of the Ring. Naomi could be the next WWE Women's Champion as well, holding that Money in the Bank briefcase. So the fact that Bianca Belair still is involved in that story, you feel like she could return and maybe have to pick sides, maybe have to be a special guest referee for a rematch, this time with the Women's Championship on the line. Bianca Belair coming back, maybe as soon as this Sunday, seems like a very strong possibility. Now, let's move on and talk about the Bella Twins. You feel like when you're talking about the Bella Twins and Evolution, they go hand in hand, and there have certainly been plans to have at least one Bella Twin at Evolution, but now everything's up in the air because of the injury to Liv Morgan. Now, Nikki Bella, let's begin with her. Nikki Bella returned to WWE programming last month, and she was kickstarting a program with Liv Morgan. Now, WWE's plans indicated at the time either a singles match between the two women at Evolution, or possibly a WWE Women's Tag Team title match, pitting the Bella Twins against against the champions Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. However, of course, Morgan suffered that ill-timed dislocated shoulder injury, ruling her out of the show and leading to WWE really ripping up plans for this PLE card. Since then, at the time of recording this video anyway, Bella has yet to resurface on WWE programming as Morgan underwent surgery. Now, according to several reports, despite yet not being officially announced for a match or just for the show in general, Nikki Bella is still planned to be on the show. As for what her plans are, we really actually just don't know. Of course, there is a battle royal that she could be a participant in. There is a women's tag team championship match still with teams yet to be named from Raw and from NXT. So would they count as a Raw tag team? I don't know how that would work necessarily for Nikki Bella, but she still could be involved in the show. And according to the latest plans, she is still planned for the show. Well, what about Brie Bella? Well, Brie Bella's status for the show is even more murky. Now, it was reported last month by TMZ Sports that Brie Bella was in talks with WWE over a return, specifically for this Evolution PLE. She hasn't actually even competed in a match since the 2022 Women's Royal Rumble. Prior to that, her last match was in 2018. This is what TMZ wrote at the time, saying, quote, "A source with direct knowledge tells us Nikki's twin is in talks to unretire and help her sister kick some ass at the promotion's all-women's pay-per-view event Evolution next month." But then when it comes to that, Brie Bella kind of poured a lot of cold water on that. She did an interview not long after that claiming that WWE is actually yet to call her. She said, quote, "I would love to return, but I'm kind of waiting for that call still. Nikki got the call, Brie didn't. I didn't change my number. If you guys wanted to know, it's still the same." Now, a lot of people said she's just kayfabing at the time. She's just trying to keep her return a surprise. Maybe it is a situation where the Bella twins could be added to the Women's Tag Team Championship Fatal 4-Way match. Maybe they'll both be involved in the Battle Royal. Maybe Brie will just be accompanying Nikki to ringside. We don't know, but you feel like there is going to be at least some Bella influence at Evolution Weekend, but we're still yet to find out just what it's going to be. Now, what about Rowdy Ronda Rousey? You might say, Ronda Rousey going back to WWE, that's not going to happen. Of course, Rousey last competed for WWE in August of 2023. Her final match was the MMA rules match between herself and Shayna Baszler at SummerSlam. The match was critically panned, with a lot of people saying it just didn't work, didn't make a lot of sense. The feud between the former Women's Tag Team Champions was rushed as well. That was because Rousey had given WWE a date that she was finishing up with, and since then, she's released a book, and she was very negative on her time with WWE. She said in an interview, quote, "My last run just with Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard and John Laurinaitis, it was such a negative experience. Most of them are gone. Bruce's little shit ass is still around, but I'm not overly excited to come back like I was the last time, even though I had so many matches that I very much enjoyed and had a great time. When I look back on it, I don't really think of the joy that I had in those matches and those live shows, or that I had much fun." Now, she has kind of, though, opened the door to a potential return, noting that, again, those names are gone, apart from Pritchard, and it's Triple H and Nick Khan calling the shots in WWE, Triple H on creative and Nick Khan as the business overall. So she has noted that with Vince McMahon gone, she would be open to the idea of returning to WWE, but it would have to be a part-time role due to her second child and commitments to her family. She said, quote, and this was an interview prior to giving birth to her second child, quote, "I mean, now that Vince McMahon's gone, I could definitely be convinced. I've been hearing great things from the ladies of how it's been under Triple H's regime, so I could be convinced to go back, but it couldn't be full-time like before. I'm going to have another baby coming, and there's no way I could be on the road. It was so difficult just to take Poe on the road for that time, and I got to start putting my family first." So she said she could be open to it. Now, she did kind of participate when Triple H was in creative charge of WWE, but whether or not he was in full creative charge, because Vince McMahon was still in the background, this was prior to Vince McMahon resigning for a second time, this time from TKO in the wake of the Janelle Grant lawsuit. So maybe she's not been in this version of TKO WWE. And of course, given the ties of TKO being the parent company of UFC as well, it would make sense for Ronda Rousey to come back under the TKO umbrella. And maybe that could begin at Evolution this weekend. Maybe she comes in, wins the Battle Royal, like she said. A full-time run, maybe not, but there would be a space for a part-time women's superstar, you feel like, and maybe Ronda Rousey could be that person. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility of the former women's champion returning to WWE as quickly as this Sunday. What about Lita? Now, we haven't seen Lita in quite some time for WWE. Of course, she did have a bit of an extended run in WWE back in 2023. She returned to Raw on the February 6th, 2023 episode during a steel cage match between Becky Lynch and Bayley, where she sided with Becky Lynch against Damage Control. She later went on to team with Lynch to defeat Dakota Kai and Io Sky for the Women's Tag Team Championship. It led to a 6-woman tag team match at WrestleMania 39. This was Lita's second WrestleMania match and her first ever win. Now, things kind of changed after that WrestleMania. Lita was scheduled to defend the Women's Tag Team Championship on an episode of Raw in April against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. However, Lita was attacked just prior to the start of the show. Instead, Trish Stratus teamed up with Becky Lynch to defend the title on her behalf. Morgan pinned Stratus at the time, costing Lita and Lynch the titles. Stratus then attacked Lynch following the match. On the following episode of Raw, Stratus revealed herself as Lita's attacker, citing frustration with Lita appearing as Lynch's sidekick and overall anger at her legacy being forgotten. And we never really got much payoff from that. She has appeared on WWE television since then. She announced the qualifiers for the Iron Survivor Challenge at NXT Deadline, but there still could be elements where Lita could get involved. Now, certainly she could come back for the Battle Royal for a Women's World Championship match at Clash in Paris. Only a few participants at the time recording this video have even been announced for that Battle Royal. Ivy Nile, Stephanie Vaquer, and Nia Jax have been announced, and it is quite expected that, yes, there'll be lots of members of the current WWE and NXT Women's roster that'll be in that Battle Royal, but there will be select legends and Hall of Famers that get announced and surprisingly appear, and certainly Lita could be one of them, but also she could get involved in that Women's Championship match. Tiffany Stratton is defending against Trish Stratus. They teamed up earlier this year at Elimination Chamber, and Trish Stratus is back to being a babyface, but maybe Lita doesn't forget. Now, is this going to lead to another Trish Stratus and Lita program? You think not? Could it lead to possibly Trish Stratus actually trying to get some assistance from Lita and them going after the Women's Tag Team Championship? You feel like anything's on the table. Trish Stratus and Lita have both come back at different points for extended WWE runs, so whilst it could be something as minor as just a one-shot appearance in the Battle Royal or the beginning of a longer run with Trish Stratus, anything you feel like is possible. And Lita, you feel like with an Evolution PLE celebrating the legacy of some of the biggest names and Hall of Famers in WWE history, Lita has to be a part of that. And finally, could this be the moment that Paige returns to WWE? Now, we haven't seen Paige in WWE for quite some time, but we have seen Saraya in professional wrestling. Now, of course, she's been retired from WWE action since December of 2017. She announced her in-ring retirement in April of 2018. She then became a manager and she became a general manager. And actually, she was very popular doing that. But eventually, she did leave WWE. In June of 2022, Paige announced her departure from WWE effective in July when her contract would expire. It ended her near 11-year tenure with the company. This was whilst Vince McMahon was still in charge of WWE. And just after that, that's when Triple H actually came into creative control of the company. Vince McMahon's retirement, his first one anyway, etc., etc. Reportedly, according to Paige herself, Triple H did reach out at the time, said he thought it was a mistake that WWE released her, and also said that they would look to not only bring her back, but see if they could get her cleared from her career-ending neck injury. Ultimately, Paige decided to turn down WWE, and instead she signed with AEW. She once again got cleared by the company and had matches for the company, becoming a former AEW Women's World Champion. But really, that was the high point of her run in the company. It wasn't too much to write home about. The biggest point, again, was winning the AEW Women's World Championship at the first All-In show at Wembley Stadium. Over 80,000 people there in her home country. But apart from that, didn't really do all that much. There was criticisms of some of her wrestling, saying it wasn't that great and she looked rusty and a shell of herself and was trying to protect her neck. She was part of the Outcast faction, which once again kind of flopped. It did spin out Timeless Toni Storm, which I guess was a success, but she didn't really do all that much. Now, in a November 2024 interview with The Buzz, she announced that she'd be taking a hiatus from wrestling to focus on other projects. In March of this year, she announced her departure from AEW, ending her near 3-year tenure with the promotion. And since then, ever since she's left AEW, of course, she's been linked to a return to WWE. But in a recent interview with the Orlando Sentinel, Saraya confirms she's not even had any discussions with WWE about returning for the Evolution PLE. She said, quote, "I haven't had a conversation with them. I know I always kind of get tagged in everything. As soon as there's a mystery going around, they're like, hey, she's coming back. But no, I love the WWE, but no." She also said she's taken a break from wrestling. She said it feels good to take a little break from wrestling and then see the outpouring of love from people saying they want me back. I just want to get my feet wet outside of wrestling for a little bit and take care of myself this year. It's consumed my whole life. All 32 years of my life has been wrestling. So I just want to find myself a little bit outside it and next year maybe come back. Now she's been promoting a new book. She's also been promoting a new podcast, but she did make the headlines recently by posting a post on X saying, quote, Evolution this weekend. Now this was a few days ago, and of course Evolution wasn't this weekend. She actually posted that on July 2nd, so it was the wrong weekend, but it was a short but powerful tweet that immediately sent the wrestling world into speculation mode. The comment, while casual on surface, has many fans convinced she may be hinting at a return during Evolution. It was the wrong weekend, but maybe this weekend's going to be the right weekend. We don't know. So she's certainly teasing it. Could she be in the Battle Royal? Could she just make a one-off appearance, not necessarily to wrestle, but just to be out there and look to get cleared by WWE later on down the line? We'll have to wait and see, but you feel like Paige's history of WWE isn't quite finished just yet. So there you go, guys. There are 5 potential major returns at WWE Evolution this weekend. What are your thoughts on these? Which ones are most likely? Which ones are unlikely? Let me know your thoughts, your reactions, as always, in the comment section below. Let me know your hot takes. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. As you can see right there, we're now over 23,000 subscribers, getting closer and closer to our goal of 25k in 2025. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, as always, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.